Professor Verma.
Sir, we can't hear you.
Please unmute yourself, Professor Verma.
Yeah. Happy greetings from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University of Social Sciences and our co-organizers for this international webinar. I will start with the Dhyaya Vakya of Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal. Tat karma yan bandhai sa vidya ya vimukte aya saya aparam karma vidya anya shilpa nopudam. That is work which is not for the bondage. That is knowledge which is for the liberation. For hardship is the other work. The other knowledge are merely worldly skills. Now, to start our international webinar, I would request for Buddha Vandana by Most Venerable Dr. Matipe Vimalsara Mahathirji. I invite you, sir, for Buddha Vandana.
नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस् नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस् नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस् इतिपिसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा संबुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदो अनुत्तरो पुरुष धम्म सारथे सत्ता देव मनुष्यानां बुद्धो भगवाति भवतो सभ्य मंगलं रक्षन्तु सभ्य देवता सब बुद्धानुभावेन सदा सद्धि भवन्तु ते सब धम्मानुभावेन सदा सद्धि भवन्तु ते सब संघानुभावेन सदा सद्धि भवन्तु ते.
Thank you very much. May I request now our Honorable Vice Chancellor and Chairperson of this international webinar to initiate our proceedings for this international webinar, Madam, please. And with this, I would like to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University of Social Sciences for our welcome speech and also the introduction of this international webinar. May I request you, Madam, to deliver the welcome address, please.
Namaste to all of you. Wish you all a very happy Buddha Purnima. Buddha Jayanti is held on a full moon. This year the very auspicious 2583rd birth anniversary of Lord Buddha is today. So also a heartily welcome at the international webinar being organized on this auspicious day on the main theme National Education Policy 2020, Role of Teachers of Buddhist Studies, and for the specific theme of today international webinar, Role of Buddhism and Buddhist Teachers for Global Harmony and Peace. Let me share with you a brief introduction about my university. The government of Madhya Pradesh, India, has set up Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University of Social Sciences, in short, BRAUSS, by an Act number 2 of 2016, published in Madhya Pradesh Gazette on 13th January 2016. BRAUSS is the first state university of social sciences in the country. The university is a unique model of integration of social sciences perspective and approaches with scientific and technological advancement for socio-economic development and educational excellence of scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes. BRAUSS academic structure consists of 11 schools and one Directorate of Research, Extension and Training. At present, our university is operating its activities through our 4 Samajik Vigyan Kendra. BRAUSS has also proud privilege to conduct academic programs for Indian Army officers and state police officers as well. BRAUSS is collaborating through Memorandum of Understanding with more than national and 70 national and state level institutions, including NCRT, Dr. Ambedkar Foundation, Babu Jagjeevan Ram Foundation, Infantry School, Army War College, and Madhya Pradesh Police Academy. The university is conducting academic programs in Buddhism, Buddhist studies, Pali, under the School of Dr. Ambedkar Thought and Philosophy. We have also set up Lord Buddha Chair, and under Lord Buddha Chair, we are holding this international webinar. BRAUSS family is pleased to welcome all of you at this international webinar, which is being organized under the collaboration of Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal, ICCR, UNESCO, UniTwin International Institute for the Inclusive Museum, International Center for Inclusive Cultural Leadership, Anant National University, and Heritage Society. And in particular, with this association with ICCR and UNESCO, we are very grateful to Dr. Neeru Mishra for her continuous academic support to BRAUSS. All respected teachers of Buddhism, Buddhist studies, Pali from the world over and from various parts of India, the great philosophy and most scientific religion, Buddhism, has its roots in ancient India. Buddhism is in fact teaching of Lord Buddha, who lived in the 5th century BC. Lord Buddha, born as a prince named Siddhartha Gautam, achieved enlightenment and later became to known as Buddha, an awakened one. Lord Buddha began teaching to others what he had learned through enlightenment, and those teaching later became what we call now Buddhism. The essence of Buddhism is conceptualized under 4 noble truths for which Lord Buddha himself said, I teach suffering, its origin, cessation, and path. That's all I teach. No religion, however, is static, as their respective followers continue to interpret their religion's teachings and also influence their own cultures as well. This is how Buddhism has spread all over the world in its different forms. However, the Buddhist studies are more or less same. There are well-known scholars who have enriched the Buddhist studies. I would like to specifically mention the contribution of a great lady who translated difficult Pali Buddhist texts and enriched Buddhist studies in the West. Her name, Caroline Augusta Fallin. Caroline was a British writer and translated Pali Buddhist texts. Friends, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama is the most well-known Buddhist ally, who was recognized as the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama at the age of 2. He is the great scholar of Buddhism, and he has also enriched West's understanding and interest in Buddhism. He has also spoken out about many different social issues and worked with other faith leaders to create various interfaith dialogues. The University Grant Commission has combined Buddhist, Jain, Gandhian, and peace studies for its national eligibility test for lecturership. As envisaged in the National Education Policy 2020, education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. Further, NEP says the Global Educational Development Agenda reflected in the Goal 4 of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development adopted in India in 2015. It is stated also in National Education Policy that India has an extremely rich literature in other classical languages, including Pali. Therefore, it becomes important to discuss role of Pali and Prakrit teachers in realizing the vision of national education policy. In order to realize the role of teachers, may I remind you the case of teaching Pali in Banaras Hindu University of India, where the teaching of Pali was started in 1940 with the efforts of Bhikkhu Jagdish Kashyap. We must give special emphasis to the study of Buddhist philosophy and values, particularly in relation to other philosophical and religious tradition for the global peace and harmony. We have a rich socio-cultural historical context of Buddhist traditions across the world. We need to strengthen the role of our teachers for interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary curriculum, for critical thinking and exploring the wider cultural and historical context of Buddhism if different countries. There is also an urgent need to enrich the modern manifestations of Buddhism and yoga philosophy and practices. Our universities can take up more academic programs on Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, and Tibetan as languages, which is strongly emphasis in our national education policy of India. Graduation and post-graduation academic program on Buddhism texts in different languages and other religion texts with the objectives of developing skill integral to pursuing high quality research work with high standard of academic credibility. In-depth research studies and assignments at undergraduate and postgraduate levels on Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist logic, studies on canonical literature along with ancient classical language will be more appreciated in future. The role of our teachers teaching Buddhism, Buddhist studies, Pali, and such other courses should be to develop our children as experts on Buddhism who would excel in knowledge, orientation, and application of Buddhist thought of peace and non-violence with high ethical standards and social relevance in every walk of life world over. In this international webinar, I welcome you all to strengthen academic programs with multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary advanced learning about ethical, psychological, historical, philosophical, economic, transnational, cultural, and linguistic functioning both at individual and social. We need to innovate various courses in Indian culture for integrated studies and research in different branches of Buddhist philosophical and cultural studies. In near future, our university would like to introduce online certificate courses and also summer courses on Buddhism and Buddhist studies and also on Pali literature. We look forward to global exchange of ideas, including some exchange programs or collaborative programs with faculty and students also. In light of the above, we would also look to execute some MOUs with some international universities and institutes. For this particular work, I need the help of ICCR and UNESCO will be greatly required. Once again, welcoming you all, I have the pleasure and honor to share this very high level academic platform with such a learning gathering. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Vice Chancellor. Now, for the introduction of guest, may I request Dr. Neelu Mishra, Honorable Visiting Professor, Manipur University of Culture, Imphal, and formerly Director, ICCR, New Delhi. May I request you, Madam, to kindly introduce our guest, please?
Thank you, Professor Verma. Om Tathagat Buddhaya Nama. Om Shri Guruve Nama. I am indeed delighted to be in the company of this august gathering, galaxy of eminent persons and scholars today on this solemn occasion of Buddha Purnima, also known as Vaisak. I offer my prayers with a mantra and I quote, Shubham karoti kalyanam arogyam dhan sampada shatru buddhi vinashaye deepakaya namostute. Salutations to the light of the lamp which brings auspiciousness, health and prosperity, which destroys inimical feelings. Salutations to the light of that lamp, I unquote. Esteemed speakers, Honorable Director General of Indian Council for Cultural Relations, His Excellency Ambassador Dinesh Patnaik, sir, distinguished scholar Professor Amreshwar Galla, venerated Associate Professor Dr. Pramaha Sombon Buddhikaro, Assistant Professor Sombat Mangmi Suki Siri from Thailand, and most venerated Dr. Maitepi Vimalasara Mahathera and Professor Upul Ranjit Hevavita Nagamage from Sri Lanka. It is indeed the most venerated occasion across the globe today. The day when Lord Buddha came to this world, attained enlightenment, and also the day when Buddha took Mahaparinirvan. His birth heralded man's deliverance from suffering. His enlightenment was the discovery of the Four Noble Truths, and his Mahaparinirvan was the emergence of right mindfulness. Lord Buddha left a lasting impression on the Asian culture. His teaching is spread all over the world and more prominently in South and Southeast Asia. The path shown more than 2560 years back from now is becoming more and more relevant by the day. King Ashok had sent his son and daughter to King Tisa of Sri Lanka with a message of Buddha teaching. Celebrations of Vaisak started, it is said, from this very day. The Tisa assumed the Buddha's fold. These were the initial examples of cultural exchange, which now the Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar University of Social Sciences also proposes to revive. Further, the celebration of event today by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Madhya Pradesh, assumes greater significance as large number of his relics have been found near places like Sanchi, Bharhut, Kothar, and Sonari. United Nations recognized the importance of Vaishak when it passed the resolution in General Assembly in 1999 to celebrate the occasion at UN every year as International Day. Since 2004, Vaishak is celebrated on huge scale at Mahachola Longkong University and many other institutions in South Asia. I have been assigned the excited and exalted responsibility to introduce our illustrious guests today. We have today with us His Excellency Ambassador Dinesh Patnaik, who is a career diplomat and officer of prestigious Indian Foreign Service. He is presently the Director General of Indian Council for Cultural Relations. He has the experience of over 30 years in a variety of interesting and challenging assignments. He has served in Indian missions in Geneva, Dhaka, Beijing, Vienna, and United Kingdom. He was ambassador to Cambodia and Kingdom of Morocco. Prior to joining ICCR, he also served as additional secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. His Excellency Ambassador Patnaik holds a master's degree in business administration from the prestigious Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata. He also holds a master's degree in advanced international studies from the University of Vienna and certificate in international studies from the Diplomatic Academy, Geneva. I am also honored to introduce our guest of honor today, Dr. Amreshwar Galla, a professor and UNESCO chair on inclusive museums and sustainable heritage development, an alumnus of the Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, with a PhD from the Australian National University, Canberra. Dr. Amreshwar Galla is currently Professor of Inclusive Cultural Leadership and founding director of the International Center for Inclusive Cultural Leadership and Dean of Faculty Development and Leadership, Anand National University, Ahmedabad, India. He is the founding executive director of the International Institute for the Inclusive Museum, Australia, India, and USA. Until recently, he was a visiting professor at the School of Planning and Architecture, Vijayawada, a national institution of importance, Ministry of Human Resource Development, India. He lived and worked as a chief curator in Amaravati Heritage Town and its Amaravati Heritage Center and Museum. He was the editor and producer of the flagship project and publication to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the 1972 World Heritage Convention launched in Kyoto, Japan. My association with Professor Galla goes back to the year 2000 when I was with UNDP UNESCO on deputation from ICCR and had convened the workshop for the parliamentarians in the Parliament House on the burning topic, the illicit trafficking of cultural property, and subsequently a follow-up workshop at Habarana in Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka. It's my privilege to also introduce venerated Associate Professor Dr. Kamaha Sombon Budikaro is the faculty member of Graduate School Mhow Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, and Director of PhD Program in Buddhist Studies, Graduate School, Dean of Graduate School. He obtained his PhD in Buddhist Studies from the Graduate School Mhow Chulalongkorn Raj Vidyalaya University, Thailand. Mhow Chulalongkorn University is more than 100 years old and has been a major center of learning in Asia. He has several scholarly papers, articles, and books to his credit. He has spent extended period as a visiting fellow at Sri Lanka International Buddhist Academy, Dongkok Buddhist Chon Pop College, South Korea, Dhamma Gate Buddhist College, Budapest, Hungary, Numato Center for Buddhist Studies, Hamburg University, Germany. I'm also delighted to introduce our another guest, Assistant Professor Sombat Mangmi Sukh Siri, who is a PhD in Sanskrit from the University of Delhi. He was ordained as Buddhist novice and monk for 14 years, has graduated in the highest Pali studies grade 9, and his Sanskrit studies at Shilpakorn University, Bangkok. He is well versed in Buddhist Sanskrit, Pali, Northeastern Thai dialect, and Sanskrit inscriptions in Indo-China. He has several scholarly papers, articles, and books to his credit. We had the pleasure of having the scholarly presence of Dr. Sombat when, while with ICCR, I convened the conference on Indo-Thai cultural relations in Bangkok with the help of Royal Thai Embassy in Delhi in 2006. learned scholar Professor Sachidanand Sahai was the guiding force for this particular event. I'm very humbled in introducing most venerated Dr. Maithipe Vimalasara Mahathera, who is the director, chief incumbent of a Buddhist school, Pirivera, Sri Lanka. After having basic monk's education in Sri Lanka, he left for India for further higher education to join the Mahabodhi Society to work as a missionary monk at the headquarters in Kolkata. At the same time, he had the education in Sanskrit College at Kolkata University. To revive and to receive further education, he took admission in Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Later, he was appointed the high priest of the Bodh Gaya Mahabodhi Society and performed the missionary duties. To spread the teachings of Buddha, he visited United States of America and worked there until 2015. He is now the chief incumbent and the director of the Param Dhamma Chaitya Pirivera in Sri Lanka, which is 180 years old premier Buddhist educational center. Currently, he is also the vice president of the World Buddhist Sangh Council headquarters in Taiwan, president of Asian Buddhist Conference for Peace Sri Lanka chapter headquartered in Mongolia, and the general secretary of Asian Buddhist Congress headquarters in Sri Lanka. We also have with us, and I'm delighted to introduce Professor Upul Ranjit Hevavita Naga Magu, who is the Director, Center for Contemporary Indian Studies, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka. He is Senior Professor, Department of Hindi Studies, University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka. He is Doctor of Philosophy in Hindi Studies from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and has obtained certificate in Bengali language. He is also Vadya Visharad in violin from Bhatkande Sangeet Vidyapeeth, Lucknow. He has been a chair, senior professor, Department of Hindi Studies, University of Kelaniya since July 2008. He is also a visiting lecturer at the University of Colombo. He has held several prestigious positions in the academic world and has participated in many national and international conferences. He has authored several books and has contributed to several academic journals as well. He has been the recipient of several international awards for his contribution in the field of his specialization. I believe university is the highest seat of learning and for the meeting and training of scholars. Today's scholarly event would provide a great fillip in the ongoing initiatives of Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar University of Social Sciences to bring out the world-class quality education and research. With these words, I now conclude. Om Swasti Astu. Floor is yours, Professor Verma. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Professor Niru Mishra ji. Now it is the moment for the keynote address. And as has been introduced, we have with us most venerated Dr. Maithipe Vimalasara, Honorable Mahathera, Director, Chief Incumbent of Buddhist School, Pirivena, Sri Lanka. May I request you, sir, to kindly deliver the keynote address, please.
नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्स. May everyone be well and happy by the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. I am indeed very happy to meet and address you all from Sri Lanka on this very auspicious day, Vesak Day. While we are celebrating the Vesak Day, we must thank and bless to the organizing committee headed by Professor Asa Shukla, Vice Chancellor of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University of Social Sciences, and also to the other organizing committee members. An appropriate topic has been selected on this international webinar, and hope everyone will be benefited from this seminar. Role of Buddhism and Buddhist teachers for global harmony and peace needs to be scrutinized in this present situation. As we know, entire world is suffering from virus problem, unwanted calamities, and environmental issues. Therefore, Buddhism and Buddhist teachers have a bigger responsibility to present better answers for these burning issues. Dear eminent guests and speakers, today is the Buddha Purnima day or Vesak full moon day. International world Buddhist community is celebrating and venerating this thrice blessed day. Therefore, we should pay our utmost respect to the Buddha, and also it is important to deeply analyze and to recall invaluable teachings of the Buddha. The Buddhist education mainly based on the teachings of the Buddha, which described in Pali Tripitaka. According to the Buddhism, without virtue, sila, and devotion, shraddha, one will not be able to have wisdom, prajna. Therefore, shraddha, sila, and prajna are the main themes of the Buddhist education. In present educational system, whether in schools, colleges, or universities, are not paying much attention towards these qualities. Devotion, faith, or shraddha cannot be blind. Without blind faith, students should be educated to reason out to acquire perfect knowledge. Teachers should help students to think logically, without any bias, and to find out very reason and effect. In another word, there is the cause and effect. The Buddha always emphasized this theory to awaken the followers. We can find in Tripitaka, Chakkung Udapadi, Jnanam Udapadi, Panya Udapadi, Vidya Udapadi, Aloko Udapadi, which means vision, insight, wisdom, knowing, and light that arouse in me, the Buddha described. If someone wants to acquire the perfect knowledge, one needs to be followed Paticca Samuppada, or theory of cause and effect. It is not only for the Samma Sambodhi, or perfect enlightenment, but also for the general mundane knowledge also can be acquired by following of the theory of cause and effect. Sila or virtue is another pillar to develop by oneself in order to receive education. And it is the one of the important humane qualities. Sila or virtue should be practiced by everyone without any sort of biased feeling or blind faith, to have perfect moral protection in every activities. In Dhammapada, verses number 360 and 361 of Bhikkhu Agga, it mentioned that Chakkuna Sangvaro Sadhu, Sadhu Sotena Sangvaro, Ghanena Sangvaro Sadhu, Sadhu Jivhaya Sangvaro, Kayena Sangvaro Sadhu, Sadhu Vachaya Sangvaro, Manasa Sangvaro Sadhu, Sadhu Sabbatta Sangvaro. Sabbatta Sangvaro Bhikkhu Sabbadukha Pamuchati. Verses number 360, restraint in the eyes is good. Good is restraint in the ear. Restraint in the nose is good. Good is restraint in the tongue. Restraint in the body is good. Good is restraint in speech. Restraint in mind is good. Good is restraint in all the senses. A bhikkhu restrained in all the senses is freed from all ills, sansara dukkha. Physically, verbally, and mentally, one needs to be protected from any sinful actions or evil actions. That is the way to cultivate wholesome qualities, and thereby one will be able to pursue highest level of education, which will not contaminate by any reason. Modern education system is lacking about mentioned perfect devotion, shraddha, and perfect virtue. Therefore, if any authority wants to introduce the national education policy, first of all, teachers and students should be trained to develop these wonderful human qualities. Then only perfect wisdom or prajna can be acquired. Modern educational system also far behind of four sublime qualities. That is Satara Brahma Viharana, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, and Upekha. Loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. These universal human qualities should be introduced to the modern education system as an ethical guideline. Real understanding between teachers and students can be improved by practice of these qualities. Teachers should have highest amount of loving kindness and compassionate thoughts towards to students, and vice versa. Due to commercial attitudes, these valuable ancient educational qualities are disappearing from modern education system. Singalovada Sutta in Digha Nikaya in Pali Tripitaka describes honorable duties and responsibilities of teachers towards to their disciples, and from disciples to teachers. Unfortunately, in modern education system, not encourage teachers and students to develop these duties and responsibilities, which are essential to include into educational policy. According to Singalovada Sutta, that teachers should maintain following good qualities towards to students. Teachers train students in the best discipline. Teachers see that students grasp their lessons well. Teachers instruct students in the arts and sciences. Teachers introduce students to their friends and associates. Teachers provide for their safety in every quarter. Students also should maintain following good qualities towards to teachers. Students should pay their respect and salutations to the teachers. Students should have cordial relationship with teachers. Students should eagerness and full commitment to learn. Students should personal attendance and services to teachers when it is arise. Students should pay respectful attention while receiving instructions and lessons. It seems to be modern education system does not have a solid answer to another important common problem of stress, anxiety, and depression. These three negative thoughts or mental conditions are widely spread throughout the world in alarming phase. The very reason for this sickness is present lifestyle of the mankind, which established through the modern education. You can be highly educated in subject-wise, but if you are mentally sick or not having happiness, your education will not bring you anything. Therefore, the Buddha said in Dhammapada verses number 2 or 4, Arogya Paramalabha Arogya Paramalabha Santutti Paramang Danam Viswasa Paramanyati Nibbanam Paramang Sukham. Health is the greatest gift. Containment is the greatest wealth. A trusted friend is the best relative. Nibbana is the greatest bliss. The better answer can be found from the teachings of the Buddha to solve this problem. In order to manage and to cure stress, anxiety, and depression, one can apply practical techniques of Buddhist meditation, and that should be introduced to the new educational policy before we more regret. Meditation does not belong to any particular religion or country or nationality. It is universal. Everyone can be practiced and can have a better results to everyone's life. In modern world, stress, anxiety, and depression are widely discussed and also, unfortunately, commercialized. We should pay our attention to rescue these wonderful teachings from commercialization, so that highest level of benefit will be to the general mass. Will go to the general mass. In order to conclude my keynote address, I would like to appeal to the concerned authority to note that Shraddha, Sila, Prajna, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, and Upekha, or techniques of the Buddhist meditation, should not be dealt in surface level or theoretical way. If we really want to have a complete society with complete human beings, practical approach is the only way. Teachers of Buddhism should make effort to sacrifice and eliminate their negative thoughts to be the exemplary characters that will encourage students and disciples to follow the same. With this collective effort, only can be established a better society with harmony and peace. That's my presentation. In this presentation, I introduce you very important aspect of the teachings of the Buddha one has to practice. This practical aspect is not being concerned. Theoretical aspect is being concerned by many scholars, many fields, and many areas. Therefore, my humble appeal to each and every one of you and to the concerned university and concerned authorities, not just theory. We need to introduce and practically we need to train our disciples and students in order to have a better society. Otherwise, all the words will be a mere word without any results. I also will thanks to the here in Sri Lanka Indian Council for Cultural Relationship Director, Dr. Robert Vikramasinghe, who invited me to join this international webinar. I also thanks to all the organizers, including Professor Asa Sukla and other organizing committee, to have this wonderful webinar on this thrice blessed day, Vesak Day. May all you be well and happy by the blessings of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. May no harm come to you. May no difficulties come to you. May no problems come to you. May you have enough courage and determination to overcome each and every problem of your life. I also want to take this opportunity to especially bless and give my sincere gratitude to India to overcome this coronavirus problem that is many innocent Indians are suffering, not only Indians throughout the world. May they all have enough courage and determination to overcome each and every difficulties of their life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhavatu sabba mangala. Thank you.
Thank you very much, most venerated Dr. Matepe Vimalasaraji, for your kind blessings and the keynote address. Now, may I request Honorable Director General ICCR, Dr. Dinesh Patnaik ji, Honorable Ambassador, to kindly deliver the Chief Guest Address, please. May I invite Dinesh Patnaik ji, please.
Namaskar. Namaskar. I'm delighted to be here today at the international webinar on the role of Buddhism and Buddhist teachers for global harmony and peace, and also on the NEP 2020, the role of Buddhist teachers in bringing global harmony and peace. Today is an auspicious day, Buddha Purnima or Vesak Day, and I wish all participants of this webinar peace, unity, and joy. And may you have Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha in your life. So, Nava Buddhaya. The topic is in two parts. The first is about Buddhism as a way to global peace and harmony. And the other is the role of Buddhist teachers in bringing this peace and harmony. But essentially, they are linked together. If you look at history, the fundamental goal of Buddhism has always been peace and harmony. All through history, we have witnessed how peace and Buddhism have gone together. Whenever we associate peace with any religion, it's usually Buddhism. And it is important today that we maintain this and not lapse into other things, but also to maintain this peaceful attitude in nature of Buddhism, because at the end, Buddhism is our only goal towards reaching peace and harmony across the world. And now the Buddha said many years back, if you light a lamp for somebody, then you brighten your own path also. And that is important to understand, because the guru, the teacher who lights the lamp of wisdom, opens the path for others to follow and also opens your own path, makes you more enlightened and see things more clearly. The Buddha said that the fundamental cause of all suffering is ignorance. And to banish ignorance and to have a greater understanding of oneself is the most important aspect of fighting against all suffering that we have. And again, it is the guru, the teacher, who can banish ignorance, who can bring enlightenment to us and show us the path to take. The role of teachers has always been crucial. And in the Buddhist philosophy, the role of teachers, the guru, is of paramount importance. The guru is not only our guide, our best friend, our mentor, but he's like family, and to some, he's like God to us. And the teacher, he teaches us how to fight. Now, in Buddhism, what is fighting? In Buddhism, Buddha, you fight with the sword of wisdom, and your enemy is the enemy of ignorance. Because that is what we have. We have multiple problems around us, and all stem from the problems of ignorance. And it is only the teacher and the person who wields the weapon of wisdom, because it's the teacher who wields the weapon of wisdom, who will lead us out of this morass, out of these problems we face today. And how do you do that? Peaceful minds lead to peaceful speech and action. You know, all that we see around us, the violence, the problems, comes from a mind which is not peaceful. So you have to make your mind peaceful. To make your mind peaceful, you have to allow people to teach you. And how to do that? To bring peace, it is your actions which matter. The individual has to be peaceful. And that is through karma, your actions. Your actions determine how peaceful, how good you are in the world. And what does these actions depend on? It depends on what we have been taught, what we learn from society around us, from family around us, but more important, what our teachers teach us. Because this knowledge comes from the teachings of the Buddha, the knowledge to be peaceful, discipline, meditation, and wisdom. These are the core of Buddha's teachings. So today, when we discuss this topic, the role of Buddhism and Buddhist teachers for global harmony and peace, we can see very clearly that teachers have a great role to play in taking the world towards harmony and peace. And in India today, India as the land of the Buddha, we have a unique responsibility to ensure that Buddhist teaching is promoted. Not just India, we have partners in Sri Lanka, in Thailand, in Myanmar, across the world, in all countries which follow Buddhism. A responsibility to take the teachings of the Buddha and to actually bring people together. The National Education Policy 2020, which came out recently, gives a great opportunity for India to do this, because it gives flexibility to our education system to be able to do the things that we want to do. In India, we have set up many institutions. Top institutions have been set up for the study of Buddhism, Buddhism-related issues, all aspects of Buddhism. you have historical aspects, philosophical aspects, social, moral, international aspects of Buddhism, everything we are studying. The Ministry of External Affairs has set up the Nalanda University to bring back the glory of the past, to bring back Buddhism studies in its top. Institutions like the B.R. Ambedkar Institute of Social Sciences is doing a lot to promote study of Buddhism. But we need to do more. This is enough. We need to make India and other countries a fountainhead of studies on Buddhism. We have to study Buddhism in all its aspects, and not just Buddhism, not just teaching of Buddhism. We have to become the fountainhead of research into Buddhism, into all the aspects of Buddhism. I don't see much research. We see teaching and we see, but the research into Buddhism is something we really need to do. And I would like to support Professor Asha Shukla, the Vice Chancellor of BRAUSS, when she said that she wants to do more collaborations with foreign universities. Because research and other things can be done in collaboration with universities, not only in India, but across the world. You have joint courses, you have student and faculty exchange programs, you have research programs, you have fellowships, everything that we need to put together. And in this, we in ICCR are doing a lot. I mean, our resources are limited, but we are doing a lot and we're working. I mean, the venerated monk from Sri Lanka knows what ICCR is doing in Sri Lanka. We are similarly doing a lot in Thailand and other places. And one of the most important things is Sanskrit and Pali teaching, because Sanskrit and Pali are crucial to learning the manuscripts, to deciphering the manuscripts, of reading, of understanding Buddhism at its core. And so ICCR has been setting up Sanskrit and Pali chairs in many countries to help universities to teach students in those countries. We have even released recently an app, the first ever gamified Sanskrit app to learn Sanskrit, called Little Guru, which I think many in the Buddhist world would be, it's easy. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your iPad at your leisure, learn Sanskrit. It will change the way we do things. But these are things we are doing. And also, ICCR is planning for the first time ever to have an international annual conference on Buddhist studies. This annual conference, what we're planning to do is to bring together scholars and practitioners from universities and institutes across the world working on Buddhism to come together annually once to discuss where is Buddhist studies going, what is happening in Buddhist studies, what are the new areas that we need to look in, what are the researches we want to do in, and also a place to network for all these scholars across the world. There are a lot of very good work being done across the world, but we need to bring everybody together on one platform, because doing research on different aspects is something which will increase the teaching of Buddhism and Buddhism-related courses across the world. And not only will we have this annual conference, we're also institutionalizing an annual Buddhist Studies Award to be given to the persons, scholars, or institutes who have made outstanding contribution to Buddhist studies. This will be a very prestigious award given by the President of India, with a very high amount of money being given. This is going to be an annual award for Buddhist studies. This is to encourage people to do more studies, more research, and to support Buddhist studies across the world. So these are the things ICCR is doing, apart from the fact that we also give a large amount of scholarships. You know, a large number of students come to India to study Buddhism and Buddhism-related courses, and ICCR gives a large amount of scholarships. But I'm willing to give more scholarships, but only to people, to students who want to come to do research, who want to do a PhD, master's program, or higher studies program. And I'm willing to give as many scholarships. We have some of the top Buddhist institutes across the world on the platform today. So anybody who feels that they need scholarships to come and study in India, or institutes in India which feel that we have students who want to come, then please come and approach us. We would be delighted to work with you to institute more scholarships on this. And this is important because we also want to give fellowship for short-term research into issues. You know, come for 6 months, 1 year, Buddhist scholars who are highly qualified scholars to come to India to do fellowships on different issues. These are things ICCR wants to do to put in place an ecosystem where Buddhist studies is encouraged. So we, at the end, I would like to say that we at ICCR would like to work with all institutes in India and across the world to support the teaching of Buddhism and to do research on Buddhism-related issues. I wish all participants in today's webinar all the best. And on today's auspicious day, I wish you all a spiritually refreshing Vesak day. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Guest, sir. Now, it's a time to invite our guest of honor, Professor Upal Ranjit Evavathi Tangamej, the Director, Center for Contemporary Indian Studies, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka. May I invite you, sir, for your special address, sir, as guest of honor, Professor Upal Ranjit. I would request you, sir, to unmute your mic, please. Professor Upal, sir.
सभी को मेरी नमस्ते। बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि, धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि, संघं शरणं गच्छामि। उपस्थित सभी सज्जनों को मेरा नमन। इस संगोष्ठी के आयोजक मंडल ने सम्मानित अतिथि के रूप में मुझे यहाँ आमंत्रित किया, इसके प्रति मेरा हार्दिक आभार। बुद्ध वर्ष 2565 यानी ईस्वी 2021 की बुद्ध जयंती के उपलक्ष्य में आयोजित इस अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी में दो शब्द कहने के लिए जो अवसर दिया गया, एक बौद्ध दर्शन के अनुयायी के रूप में वो मेरा सौभाग्य और पुण्य समझता हूं। सांसारिक संगति एवं शांति के लिए बौद्ध धर्म तथा बौद्ध शिक्षकों की भूमिका, इस संगोष्ठी का यह शीर्षक वर्तमान समय के संदर्भ में यथातथ्यता अवश्य प्रकट करती है। इस संदर्भ में मैंने एक कालोचित विषय का चयन कर लिया। इसका शीर्षक है देवदत्त थेरो के चरित्र से गौतम बुद्ध को देखें। गौतम बुद्ध प्रज्ञा के अग्रज थे और पुनर्भव को रोकने वाले थे। तन्हा एवं आशा को जड़ से उन्होंने उखाड़ दिया, जैसे चिराग के तेल को खाली करके लौ बुझा दिया जाता है। संबोधि यानी बुद्धत्व को प्राप्त करने के पश्चात गौतम बुद्ध ने अपना निरामिष संतोष इस तरह एक गाथा के रूप में प्रकट किया। अनेक जाति संसारं संधा विसंग अनभिसंग घहकारकं गवे संतो दुखा जाति पुनः पुनः घहकारक दिठोसी पुनगेहन काहसी सब्बाते फासुका भग्गा गहकूटं विसंखितं विसंखारगतं चित्तं तन्हाणं खयमज्जगा। अनंत समय तक संसार की यात्रा करते हुए भव नामक घर को बनाने वाले बढ़ई को ढूंढ रहा था, फिर भी वह ढूंढ नहीं पाया। बार बार जन्म लेना दुख पहुंचाता है। हे बढ़ई, अब मैंने तुझे देख लिया है, फिर उस घर को तू नहीं बना पाएगा। छत के सभी खंभों को मैंने नष्ट कर डाला, खंभों के शिखर को भी नष्ट किया। मन सभी बंधनों से मुक्त हो गया, तन्हा को समाप्त किया। कर्म और पुनर्भव की अवधारणा बौद्ध धर्म के अंतर्गत आने वाला एक विशेष विषय क्षेत्र है। इससे संबंधित चर्चा उपनिषदों के समय से ही प्रचलित रही। गौतम बुद्ध ने इन्हीं अवधारणाओं का विश्लेषण करने एवं सदाचार संबंधी मानव मूल्यों की महत्ता को प्रमुखता देने हेतु जातक कथाओं का उपयोग किया। बोधिसत्व की पूर्व भवों से संबंधित कथाएं जातक कथा में संग्रहित हैं। यह बौद्ध साहित्य से संबंधित अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण कृति मानी जाती है, जो त्रिपिटक के अधीन सूत्रपिटक के खुत्तक निकाय के अंतर्गत आने वाले 15 ग्रंथों में 10वें स्थान पर उपलब्ध है। जातक कथा को 22 सर्गों में विभाजित किया गया है और कथाएं पाली भाषा में विरचित गाथाओं के रूप में प्रस्तुत की गई है। वर्तमान में विभिन्न बौद्ध परंपराओं में आने वाले अनेक जातक संग्रह द्रष्टव्य होते हैं, जैसे पाली जातक कथा, सिंहल पंस्य पनस जातक पुत वहंसे जातक माला पन्यास जातक कुंजकु मोनोगतरी, वो जापानी संग्रह है, आदि आदि। जातक कथाओं को परखने से यह एक ऐसा विशेष तथ्य प्रकट हो जाता है जिसमें संघ समाज से संबंधित 6 पात्रों की, जैसे सारिपुत्र, आनंद, लकुंठक भट्टी, राहुल, देवदत्त तथा कोकालिक आदि भिक्षुओं की कथाएं प्रस्तुत होती हैं। उनमें से मुख्य 4 भिक्षुओं के नाम बौद्ध समाज में गुणवानों के रूप में प्रसिद्ध हैं, बल्कि देवदत्त तथा कोकालिक 2 भिक्षुओं के नाम अपने कुकर्मों के लिए खूब प्रसिद्ध हैं। जातक कथा को पढ़ते समय यह तथ्य देखने को मिलता है कि बुद्ध ने देवदत्त तेरो के बारे में 54 जातक कथाओं को सुनाया था। यह अत्यंत स्पष्ट है कि किसी एक ही व्यक्ति के संबंध में बुद्ध द्वारा प्रवचित अधिकतम जातक कथाओं की संख्या यही है। वे ये हैं, यहाँ 54 कथाओं के नाम मैं नहीं पढ़ूंगा। यहाँ संक्षेप में कहा जाए तो खुरंग जातक, इसकी संख्या 21 है, से लेकर पंडर जातक, इसकी संख्या 518 तक ये 54 कथाएं आती हैं। यदि ऐसा कहा जाए तो मेरे ख्याल से कोई अत्युक्ति नहीं होगी कि किसी के जीवन के समीप शत्रु से भी कुछ न कुछ लाभ तो मिलता ही रहता है। देवदत्त थेरो कौन है? वे बुद्ध के प्रमुख शत्रु कैसे बने? इन बातों पर विचार किए जाने से मानवीयता से संबंधित महत्वपूर्ण तथ्य अवश्य उभर आते हैं। कुमार देवदत्त राजा सुपबुद्ध तथा देवी पविता का पुत्र था। देवी पविता सिद्धार्थ की रिश्तेदार थी। कुमार देवदत्त सिद्धार्थ की भार्या यशोधरा का भाई था। कुमार आनंद सहित शाक्य वंश के अन्य राजकुमारों के साथ कुमार देवदत्त भी बुद्ध के भिक्षु समाज में भिक्षु बने, परंतु वे बौद्ध धर्म के अनुसार आध्यात्मिक रूप से सफल होने में असमर्थ हुए। साथ साथ अत्यंत प्रयास करते हुए कुछ लौकिक मानसिक बल प्राप्त कर चुके। आरंभ में एक विनयशील भिक्षु के रूप में और चमत्कार दिखाने की शक्ति के लिए भी वे यानी देवदत्त थेरो प्रसिद्ध थे। बाद में अपनी लौकिक महत्वाकांक्षाओं की पूर्ति कर लेने के आशय में किसी न किसी तरह बुद्ध जैसे एक यशस्वी व्यक्ति बनने के उद्देश्य से ईर्ष्या भाव के साथ वे उनसे बदला लेने का प्रयास करने लगे। अंत में देवदत्त थेरो गौतम बुद्ध के प्रमुख व्यक्तिगत शत्रु बन गए। इनके बचपन से संबंधित एक कहानी इस प्रकार है। एक दिन कुमार देवदत्त कुमार सिद्धार्थ के साथ धनुष बाण लेकर सैर करने गए और देवदत्त ने उड़ते हंस पर निशान लगाकर तीर छोड़ा। तीर हंस को लगा और भूमि पर गिर पड़ा। दोनों हंस को पकड़ने दौड़ पड़े। पहले कुमार सिद्धार्थ हंस के पास पहुंचा और उसने देखा कि हंस अब भी जीवित है और हंस के पंख से तीर को निकाल दिया। किसी पौधे के पत्तों को लेकर उनका युष घाव पर लगाया। अपने हाथों से शरीर मलते हुए उस भयभीत हंस को दया दिखाई। तभी कुमार देवदत्त वहां पहुंचा और उसने हंस को मांगा, लेकिन सिद्धार्थ ने मना किया। कुमार देवदत्त क्रुद्ध हो गया और इस समस्या का समाधान निकालने हेतु दोनों न्यायशाला में जाने के लिए सहमत हुए। न्यायाधीश ने फैसला यह सुनाया कि जिस प्राण का अधिकार उसे बचाने के लिए प्रयासरत व्यक्ति को ही मिलता है, न उसके प्राण को लेने के लिए प्रयासरत व्यक्ति को। इस कहानी से इन दोनों चरित्रों का स्वभाव प्रकट हो जाता है। एक दिन राजा लोग, कुमार लोग आदि सहित भरी सभा में आकर देवदत्त थेरो ने बुद्ध से आग्रह किया कि भिक्षु संघ के नेता के रूप में उन्हें नियुक्त करें। इस बात में देवदत्त भिक्षु का कोई औचित्य न देख बुद्ध ने इनकार किया। यह सुनकर देवदत्त थेरो क्रुद्ध हो गए और बदला लेने की प्रतिज्ञा भी दी। क्रमशः देवदत्त थेरो के दुष्ट विचारों से सहमति प्रकट करने वाले अनुयायी भी उनके साथ हो लिए, जिनमें प्रमुख थे राजा अजातशत्रु। देवदत्त थेरो के उपदेशों के अनुसार उन्होंने अपने पिता राजा बिंबिसार को मारकर उनके राज्य को छीन लिया और देवदत्त थेरो ने स्वयं बुद्ध को मारकर बुद्ध पद यानी बुद्ध राज्य को छीन लेने के लिए षड्यंत्र रचाया और फिर भी वे असफल रहे। एक बार बुद्ध की हत्या करने के लिए देवदत्त थेरो ने एक ऐसा जाल बिछाया कि जब एक धनुर्ध से बुद्ध को तीर चलवाता है, उस धनुर्ध को मारने के लिए और 2 धनुर्धों को रखा गया। उन 2 धनुर्धों को मारने के लिए और 4 धनुर्धों को रखा गया और उन 4 लोगों को मारने के लिए 8 धनुर्धों को रखा गया। फिर भी पहले धनुर्ध ने बुद्ध को मारने के बदले उनके पास जाकर अनुयायी बन गया। बाद में घातक दल के सभी लोग बुद्ध के ही अनुयायी बन गए। देवदत्त थेरो का दूसरा प्रयास यह था कि उनके हाथ से ही बुद्ध की हत्या की जाए। एक दिन गिज्झकूट पर्वत के पास टहलने वाले बुद्ध को देखकर देवदत्त थेरो ने स्वयं पर्वत के ऊपर चढ़कर एक बड़ा सा पत्थर नीचे गिरा दिया। लुढ़कते उस पत्थर के अन्य पत्थरों से टकराने से एक छोटे से पत्थर का टुकड़ा आकर बुद्ध के चरण पर पड़ा और वहां चोट लगी। हत्या का प्रयास व्यर्थ हो गया। अनवरत प्रयासों के व्यर्थ होने से हार न माने भिक्षु देवदत्त का एक तीसरा उपाय था कि नालागिरी नामक एक हाथी को ताड़ी पिलाकर बुद्ध के सामने भेज दिया जाए। जब हाथी मदमस्त होकर बुद्ध के सामने आया, तब बुद्ध अपने मैत्री बल से उसका दमन किया। भिक्षु संघ का नेतृत्व पाने के उद्देश्य से देवदत्त थेरो एक बार अपने अनुयायी 500 भिक्षुओं के साथ एक अलग जगह पर जा बसे। उन्होंने भिक्षुओं के लिए नए 5 नियमों का प्रस्ताव बुद्ध के सामने रखा। उन्होंने यह उपाय जानबूझकर किया कि उनको यह विश्वास था कि अनिवार्यतः बुद्ध इनका इनकार करने वाले हैं। बुद्ध ने इन नियमों को अनुचित बताया। इन दिनों नवागत भिक्षुओं में से कुछ भिक्षुगण देवदत्त थेरो के अनुयायी बनकर उनके साथ रहने लगे। इस प्रकार संघ समाज का विभाजन हो गया। बाद में सारिपुत्त, मोग्गलाना आदि वरिष्ठ भिक्षु उनके पास जाकर सही स्थिति को समझाकर उन्हें बुद्ध के पास वापस लिवा ले आए। ऐसे अनेक कुकर्म करते रहे देवदत्त थेरो गंभीर रूप में बीमार हो गए। वे अपने कुकर्मों के बारे में बहुत पछताने लगे और मृत्यु से पहले बुद्ध के दर्शन करना चाहते थे। अन्यों की सहायता के साथ जब वे जेतवन विहार की ओर जाते रहे, तब विहार के द्वार पर ही धरती में डूबकर नरक में गए, ऐसा कहा जाता है। उन्होंने मृत्यु से पहले बुद्ध का शरण मांगा। उसी पुण्य के कारण वे फिर एक बार मनुष्य लोक में जन्म पाकर एक पच्चेक बुद्ध के रूप में निर्वाण प्राप्त करेंगे। देवदत्त थेरो ने जितना बुद्ध के प्रति बैर का भाव दिखाया, बुद्ध ने उतना ही मैत्री का भाव दिखाया। इस बारे में बुद्ध ने बताया कि बैर से बैर कभी नहीं दूर होता, अबैर से ही बैर दूर होता है। धम्मपद ग्रंथ में उल्लिखित इससे संबंधित पाली गाथा इस प्रकार है, माने पुरानी मागधी भाषा। नहीं वेरे न वेरानी सम्मंतीध कुदाचनम अवेरे ने च सम्मंती एस धम्मो सनातनो। यहाँ यह अत्यंत स्पष्ट हो जाता है कि देवदत्त थेरो के द्वेष और क्रोध के साथ किए गए कुकर्मों के सामने बुद्ध ने अपने मैत्री भाव में ही अटल रहे। इन 54 जातक कथाओं से बुद्ध ने यह दर्शाया कि केवल इस जन्म में भी नहीं, पूर्व जन्मों में भी देवदत्त ने उन्हें किस तरह अनेक कष्ट पहुंचाते रहे। मनुष्यता को खो देने वाले के चित्त में इस पृथ्वी पर उपलब्ध सभी वस्तुओं को अपनाने का विचार आना कोई असंभव की बात नहीं है। फिर भी देवदत्त थेरो की बुद्ध पद को छीन लेने की कल्पना और उनके द्वारा एक आध्यात्मिक पद तक को हड़प लेने के लिए प्रयास किया जाना एक प्रकार की अत्यंत नीच मनुष्यता प्रदर्शित करने का अवसर ही क्यों न हो। देवदत्त के चरित्र को परखने से और उनके आचरणों को परखने से यह स्पष्ट होता है कि वे कितने गंभीर पापकारी चिंतन को अपनाते रहे। साथ साथ बुद्ध के अति निर्मल मैत्री विचार और उनके अपार गुण भी यहाँ प्रकट होते हैं। अनुचित नहीं होगा, यह कहना अनुचित नहीं होगा कि देवदत्त थेरो से संबंधित 54 जातक कथाएं बुद्ध के मैत्री चिंतन की उत्कृष्टता का ही एक उत्तम उदाहरण सदा सामने आती हैं। पूरे संसार को और सभी मानवों और जीव जंतुओं को बुद्ध धम्म संघ इन त्रित्वों का आशीर्वाद मिले। धन्यवाद। मैंने मेरा भाषण हिंदी में ही प्रस्तुत किया। अगर ये भाषण का लेख कोई चाहते हैं तो मैं भेज सकता हूं आपके आयोजकों को। आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद प्रोफेसर उपल रंजीत जी। जैसा कि आपने हमें एक सेंटर फॉर कंटेम्प्रेरी हिंदी स्टडीज के निदेशक के नाते और जिस हमारी हिंदी भाषा में आपने किया है उसके लिए हम सब अभिभूत हैं। और आपने जो कहा है कि आपका जो लेख है वो निश्चित रूप से हम सभी लेखों को यहाँ पर आमंत्रित करना चाहेंगे। नाउ विद माय हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट इज टू आवर इमिनेंट गेस्ट वेनरेटेड डॉक्टर फरमा सोमबुन वुद्दिकारो, एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर महाचुरालोंग कोनराज विद्यालय, University, Thailand, to deliver the speech as eminent guest, please. May I invite you, sir, for your speech.
So thank you so much, Professor Dr. Deepak Kumar Verma as moderator, and thank you so much for BRAUSS, BR Ambedkar University of Social Sciences, for inviting me to join this international webinar, especially Chancellor Anandiben Patel and Vice Chancellor Professor Asha Sukra. I am very honored to be here. Thank you so much. So my topic I would like to talk today is about the Buddha teaching method. The Buddha teaching method It is a learning by doing. I think the Buddha has many kind of teaching method, but one method dominant is learning by doing. What is about learning by doing? Learning by doing or experiential learning or hands-on learning is the process of learning through experience. The general concept of learning by doing is ancient. Around 350 before Christian era, Aristotle wrote in his book Nicomachean Ethics. He said, "For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them." It is, I think, the what we call the concept of learning by doing in ancient time. Learning by doing means learning from experiences resulting directly from one's own actions, as contrasted with learning from watching others perform, reading other instruction or description, or learning to other instruction or lecture. Learning by doing is a teaching approach that allows learners to make meaningful learning experiences through engaging activities. The students are given opportunities to collaborate with their classmates through group activity. The students are given authentic tasks that transform abstract ideas into realistic lessons. The teacher's role in the learning by doing is to motivate the student to learn by stimulating their curiosity. The Buddha and freedom of thought. The freedom of thought allowed by the Buddha to his disciples is a general principle showing the Buddha teaching method. This freedom is necessary because, according to the Buddha, man's emancipation depends on his own realization of truth and not on benevolent grace of a God or any external power. Learning by doing is a teaching approach of the Buddha used to guide his follower, like his saying in the Dhammapada, in Dhammapada, verse number 276. Tum hehi kitja ma tappang akkhataro tathakhata patipanna patimok khanti shaniyo marapantana. In English, you yourselves must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. Those meditative ones who tread the path are released from the bonds of Mala. This Pali verse show what we call learning by doing of the Buddha. The Buddha just guide the way, just show the way. We will achieve enlightenment or not, depending on ourselves, depending on our effort, depending on our working, not by the Buddha. The Buddha is not the God who can help everyone. This is I think the evidence show the Buddha concept of learning by doing. Let me show you an example, a case of Sariputta Thera. In the Dhammapada commentary, the story of Sariputta Thera, the Buddha asked Venerable Sariputta, "My son Sariputta, do you accept the fact that by meditating on the senses one could realize Nibbana?" Venerable Sariputta answered, "Venerable Sir, in the matter of realization of Nibbana by meditating on the senses, it is not that I accept it because I have faith in you. It is only those who have not personally realized it that accept the fact from others." This shows the Buddha, the Venerable Sariputta, accept that he accept that what the Buddha said is true, is real, not because he believed in the Buddha or he was faithful in the Buddha, but because he do by himself, he realized by himself, he experienced the reality by himself. So this is the reason why he said that what the Buddha said is correct, is true, not because of he believed in the Buddha, but because he realized, he know, he experienced by himself. This is, I think, the story show the concept, the method, the learning by doing method of the Buddha. And one more case, the case of Julabandaka Thera in the Dhammapada commentary said, there was a monk named Julabandaka who was unable to learn even a single stanza, single verse in the course of 4 months. His older brother, Mhow Thera, discovered his brother's stupidity. He asked him to leave the monkhood, to leave the order, but Julabandaka so loved the Buddha teaching that he did not wish to return to the lay life. The lay life. The Buddha knew about the story. He comforted Julabandaka, giving him a clean piece of cloth. A clean piece of cloth. He said, "Sit with your face to the east." Sit with your face to the east, said the Buddha. Repeat the words, Rasho Haranang, Rasho Haranang, Rasho Haranang. And whip your face with the cloth. As Julabandaka carried out these orders, and he noticed that the clothes became dirty. And as he concentrated his mind on the impermanence of all things, the Buddha sent a ray of light and exhorted him about the necessity of getting rid of impurity of lust and other defilements. At the end of admonition, Julabandaka attained arahantship. This also, I think, show the Buddha teaching method, learning by doing. Why? Because Julamandaka Thela, he could not learn even one stanza or one verse within 4 months. His older brother Mahapandaka wanted him to disrobe or to leave the order Sangha, but the Buddha know his temperament, know his what we call Jalita in Bali, tendency, right? Tendency or temperament, and he know how to teach the monk like him. This is what they call skillful mean. Upaya kausalaya, skillful mean. He may cannot learn by mind, learn by mind the one stanza in 4 months, but he can learn by doing, right? So the Buddha guide him to do to follow his guidance, that is to sit with his feet to the eat and repeat the word la show nang la show nang, and whip her face with the cloth. From by doing like this, he observed the chain, the color, the color of the cloth changing from white color to black color, and then he take this phenomena, right? This phenomena or this situation to learn, to understand the reality of everything. That is the three characteristics of everything, that like impermanence of all things. And next case I would like to talk about the case of Kisakotami. This case also comes from the Dhammapada commentary. In the Buddha time, there was a woman named Kisakotami, who was the wife of a wealthy man of Savatthi or Salavasti. After losing her only child, Kisakotami became desperate and asked if anyone could help her. Her sorrow was so great that many thought she had lost her mind. An old man told her to see the Buddha. The Buddha told her that he could bring the child back to life if she could find white mustard seeds from a family where no one had died. She desperately went from house to house, but to her disappointment, she could not find a house that had not suffered the death of a family member. Finally, the realization struck her that there is no house free from mortality or free from death. She returned to the Buddha, who comforted her and preached to her the truth. She was awakened and entered the first state of enlightenment or Sotapanna. Eventually, she became an arahant. This story also showed the Buddha teaching method, learning by doing. The Buddha did not teach the Dhamma, teach Kisa Khotami the Dhamma directly. Because he knew that Kisa Thoni is not ready to listen to the Dhamma. Because she facing the great sorrow. She lost her only child. Her mind not ready to listen to understand the Dhamma. So the Buddha used what we call skillful mean upaya kausala or upaya kosala in Bali. Skillful mean to teach her. He asked her to go to the village, house by house, and ask about and seek for the house, the house or the family with no family member died, but she didn't find any family that has no dead, that had no died people. As this situation, or this event, or this situation, teach him about the reality of human life. That is the what we call the tilakhana, right? The three characteristics of everything: anicca, impermanent; dukkha, suffering; and anatta, no self. He learned reality of life by herself. The Buddha just guide her to do something. She did by herself, and she experienced reality by herself. These three cases, I think, show the Buddha learning method called learning by doing. This is what I would like to share my idea about learning by doing method used by the Buddha. This method in the world today, I think, is very popular. Sometimes we call experiential learning or hands-on learning. This is very popular in the world today. I think the Buddha used this method 2,000 years ago. It can be said that he made the first teacher in the world who used the teaching method, learning by doing. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor, moderator. Thank you so much.
Shri, Managing Director, Sanskrit Studies Center, Silpakorn University, Thailand, for the eminent guest to speak, please. Dr. Sombat?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
May I share
yeah.
my screen? Sorry. I would like to share my my PowerPoint. How can I share? Share screen. Don't show this. Sorry. Screen sharing. how can I share my sorry, my PowerPoint? I would like to show. Just a minute. I try to share my PowerPoint, my presentation.
आजाद जी पावर पॉइंट शेयरिंग करना है उनको.
Yeah, I would like to share how to share. Yeah, I click this share screen. What?
Yeah, it's organizing. 1 second.
Because PowerPoint is with me on my laptop now. I didn't send it yet.
So you may share your screen. There is an option. There is an option of sharing
from my option share screen, and then which option?
Then after clicking on share screen option, a pop-up window will open up. You can click on entire screen option and then select the window that is displayed over in the pop-up window, and then click on share. You will be able to share your screen, sir.
I click the share screen, right? A window. Oh, sorry. I have seen it. Yes. Yeah. Have you seen it?
Yes, sir. Now it is able to. Yes,
visible, no?
Yeah, it will
Yeah.
be now, sir.
Thank you. Namo Buddhaya. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Shri Mati Anandiben Patel, Dr. Professor Asha Shukara, Shri Dinesh Patnaik, Professor Amreshwara Kalla, Professor Niru Mishra, Venerable Mahathera Vimarasara, and Paramaha Sumbun Butigaro, and Professor Hemawithana Kamake. It is it's the great honor to me to be a part of this great webinar organized by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, University of Social and Science. I would like to thank all of organizers and all of you to provide me this opportunity to share my view. My topic of presentation is the Buddhist teacher in the globalization. I would like to divide my presentation into 3 parts. The first part is what is the character of the good teacher in Tripitaka, and the second is good teacher in globalization, and the last one is the required qualities of teacher in the age of IT or information technology, or now we call Internet of Things. First, I come to the first topic. What is the good teacher and what is the good characteristic of the teachers? We come to the oldest evidence in the Buddhist history, that is the Tripitaka of Theravada Buddhism. We can find the 5 characteristics of teachers in Sikarovada Sutanta, in the Sutanta Pitaga, Tiga Nikaya. This is the Sikaraka Suttam, we can say. We can see the Pali word. I just would like to show you. This is the English translation by Pali Text Society of the Sikalovada Sutanta. It talk about the good characteristics of teacher. You see, I will quote the Pali word from Sikarovada Sut. Can you see the highlight by the yellow one? This is the 5 characteristics of pupil or student for required for all pupil or student in the Gurukul or in the school of study, any school. So the Pali words appear like this. The first one is Uttanena. This is the instrumental case. The second is Upattanena. The third one is Susaya, and the fourth one is Paricariyaya. And the fifth one is Sakacham Sipam Patich Kahanena. This is the good characteristic of the students required from the Tripitaka, and how the good qualities, the 5 good quality of the teacher. It said that in Pali, that is Suvinitam Vineti. The second one is Sukhahitam Kahapenti. The third one is Sapasipe Sutam Samakhayino Pavanti. The fourth one is Mittamatjesu Pativedenti. And the last one is Disasu Paritanam Karonti. This is the good quality or good characteristic of teacher. The translation of this Pali in Sikalo Watasud is in 5 ways should pupils minister to their teachers at the southern quarter by rising from their seat in salutation, by waiting upon them, by eagerness to learn, by personal service, and by attention when receiving their teaching. This is the required characteristic for students. And the 5 for teacher, what is the 5? That is, and in 5 ways do teachers thus minister to as the southern quarter by their pupil. Love their pupil. The first one is they train him in that wherein he has been well trained. The second one is they make him hold fast that which is well held. They thoroughly instruct him in the law of every art. The fourth one is they speak well of him among his friends and companions. And the last one is they provide for his safety in every quarter. This is the 5 required characteristic or 5 good characteristic of teacher in the Sikalo Vada Sutta or in the Tripitaka as whole. So we can say this is the honest evidence about the characteristic of the teacher in the Buddhism, in Buddhist text. So you can note that this evidence or these characteristics belong to student and teacher together. But when we study in depth, we can notice that this type of educational system is Gurukul system. Is not the modern system like in the present day. So this characteristic we can say it's suitable for Gurukul school or for the boarding school for sure. But for the Western educational system or for the modern educational system, I'm not sure that it's suitable or not. We can discuss in the last topic. I will talk again. And second topic is the good teacher in globalization. I will quote from the Tripitaka, the 7 good characteristics of teachers. We can say this teacher, but in the Pali word, the words karu or the words sattha is not there. It's not there, but the word for this teacher, just like friends or mitta, translate from mitta. Why we use this word mitta as the teacher? Because in Thailand, one of the eminent scholar monks, that is the venerable monk Payutto. He is very eminent scholar, very famous in Thailand. his books, that is Buddha Dhamma, is very well known in Thailand and among the Buddhist scholar, especially Theravada Buddhism. He put this characteristic for the good characteristic of the teacher. Even the word Mita is there in this Sutanta. This Sutanta is in Anguttara Nikaya. I will show you. This is the Sutta Pitaga or Sutanta Pitaga. It said that you can see the word Mitto. It is in red color. It said that Sattahi Pikkawe Tammehi Samana Kato Pikku Mitto Sevitapo. This is the characteristic, the good characteristic of the good friend. Good friend, but in Thailand we interpret that this is the also is the characteristic, the good characteristic for teacher. So what is the seven? I will read in Pali. That is Piyo cha karu pavaniyo, watta cha wat kanakamo, wachanakamo, kampiran cha katam kata, no chattane niyo shaye. This is the Pali word from this the sutta, the Dutiya Mitta Sutta. The translation by Pali Text Society is quite old, but I can show you this the seven characteristic of good quality for teacher. There's a speaker, genial, grave, culture, bland, profound in speech, not urging when not fit. This is in whom these things are found. That is the friend. You can see the word friend. Another translation of Dutiyamita Suttam is quite easy to understand. Another version of English, that is Picus, a friend endowed with seven things, should be associated. Even when repelled, should be followed after what seven. Is lovable and agreeable. Is reverential, developed, does what he say something deep, and does not get involved unsuitably. Because a friend endowed with these seven things should be associated, even when repelled, should be followed after. This is the translation of the seven good characteristic of friends. But in Thailand, we interpret that it is one of this is the seven good quality for teacher also. So when we talk about the role of Buddhist teacher in the global harmony and peace, the required quality of teacher in the age of IT or Internet of Things. So what should be the good quality, the required quality for teacher in this in the IT age of IT? So in my opinion, we just follow the Buddha's teaching and his advice for lay person and monks. What is the advice for lay person? That is the Sikalowata Sutta. That is the good advice, the best advice from the Lord Buddha for lay person, because Sikala layman, in this sutta is the layman, and the Lord Buddha gave him advice. And another good characteristic, that is the seven required characteristic for monks, for good friend. We interpret that this is also is the required quality for the teacher in the globalization for harmony and peace. So this is my opinion, and the status of teacher at the globalized system is quite different from the past, especially from the ancient time, especially in the time of the Lord Buddha, because at that time the educational system is just like a Gurukul and boarding school, but now we have the Western educational system, and we have a lot of educational system. So now it changed a lot. So the status of teacher also changed. So what is the good characteristic for teacher in this society, in this age of Internet of Things? There is the integrate quality of teacher could lead us to the harmony and peace. What is the integrate quality? That we can mix both 5 characteristics of teacher in Sikaro Water Suit, mixed with the 7 good characteristics of friend in the Dutiya Mitta Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya. This is my answer for the role of Buddhist teacher in combined harmony and peace, and for all teacher in the world, and for the Buddhist teacher also. The last slide, when I would like to show, when all teacher and all students are ready, complete their requirement. So what happened? I quote from Lao Tzu. It's translated into English like this: when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the student is truly ready, the teacher disappears. Thank you for your kind attention. Dhanyawad.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sombat Mangme Suksiri, for your enlightening words for role of teacher. Now, Honorable Chairperson of this international webinar, Professor Amreshwar Galla, UNESCO Chair on Inclusive Museums and Sustainable Heritage Development, Anant National University, Ahmedabad. May I invite you, sir, to deliver the presentation address, please?
Thank you,
Hello.
Professor Verma. First of all, let me thank all of you for sharing such wisdom and knowledge, and Professor Shukla for inviting me, and for Professor Mishra remembering me. And Theras from Sri Lanka, Thailand, I have had my own journeys in your beautiful countries, dealing with learning about Buddhism. Given the range of knowledge, accumulations, knowledge, wisdoms that you brought together, I thought the best thing for me is to focus on what does the UNESCO chair mean? What is it that I can do? My engagement as UNESCO chair is with the whole Asia Pacific. And it's largely governed by 2 instruments of UNESCO. One is 2015 recommendation on museums, and the other one is the 1970 Convention on Prevention of Illicit Traffic, which is how I met Dr. Niru Mishra in Sri Lanka. So my journey in Sri Lanka was with the late Professor Senaka Bandaranaike and Professor Roland Silver. We are all contemporaries, working on the Golden Triangle, working on how we could actually protect the Golden Triangle, not only as a destination for tourism, but more importantly, how it could provide experiential learning, for people who are coming with different motivations to, to Sigiriya, Anuradhapura, Dambola, Polonnaruwa, and all these wonderful, amazing places. One of the greatest places that's very well conserved in the world that I've been to. My experience with Thailand is very different, working with Chulalongkorn University in building capacity in Southeast Asia to prevent the illicit traffic and loot of sculptures, and especially Buddhist sculptures and patrimony from countries of Southeast Asia. I also think of from a UNESCO point of view, the Silk Road, because I worked for a couple of years in Afghanistan, not only in Kabul, but also in Bamiyan, which is on the Silk Road. And more recently, there are a number of associations that I have. And the most recent one is being the chief guest, welcoming the mayor and his team of the World Heritage City of Leshan in China. Leshan has the tallest Buddhist sculpture in the world. And it dates back to the time of Hunshan, who introduced Buddhism in those places. So it's very global in Asia Pacific. But also, as an Australian, I was privileged to be involved in a number of forums dealing with Buddhism, because in Australia, Buddhism, from the last census, is one of the fastest growing belief systems, but mostly among women. And so with this kind of background and having been teaching in universities for 43 years in different parts of the world and coming back to India to live for 5 years in my birthplace, which is Amaravati, with the nearby Pedamaduru being the birthplace of Acharya Nagarjuna, and working on the conservation of the Mahastupa in Amaravati and living for 5 years before moving to Anant National University. What is it that I, as a learner, what is it that I, as a teacher, but I believe in collaborative learning, where all of us are learners and all of us are teachers. What is it that I can do, for example, working with other universities and learning centers, such as where the theras are, and I'm really proud to be here with Baba Sahib Ambedkar University, and given my own struggle in life dealing with the kind of issues and challenges that come up if you belong to the kind of background that he championed, that we overcome. And so first of all, what I thought is, where are we? We're at a triangulation of climate crisis, COVID-19, and addressing what globally is called Black Lives Matter. In India, Dalit Lives Matter. It's a webinar that I hosted through my university here. Gross injustices. And if you look back to 6th century BC, and the analysis of so many books have been written on this, and so much has been published, so many archaeological reports. 6th century BC was the fastest growth of urban centers in the 18 Mahajanapadas in northern India. And with that came a lot of affluence, growth of trade, intensification of agriculture contributing to it, and a range of middle class, what we call these days middle class values that people were aspiring for, lifestyles, recreational spectrum expanded. It is within this context that we have many teachers, whether it's Gautam Buddha, whether it's Jaina Mahavira, or even the Ajivikas, for instance, most of them questioning the rapid, growth and obsession with materialism. It's questioning that materialism. And I think we're in the same situation once again. Somehow things seem to be cyclical. We've been so greedy with our material pursuits. We've been destroying the environment. We've caused the climate crisis, which had a direct impact on the current pandemic. So what is it that, that we can teach? What is it that we can learn from the basics of Buddhism? And how do we let go of desires, sort of let go of, or at least moderate, take the middle path of our middle class values? So with this in mind, I was doing a diagnostic exercise of who are the people who want to learn about Buddhism, and I'm putting them roughly into different categories. The first one is the middle class people, whether they're Indians or Australians. If you go to Sydney, there are places which offer you instant nirvana in 15 days. You pay a lot of money, you go into a retreat, and you get instant nirvana. So this is what middle class people are like, and this is nothing new. There were people during the lifetime of the Buddha who were asking the same question: how do we reach there? And you remember the Buddha giving them the parable of the 7 blind men, and each one going to see an elephant, each one touching a part of the elephant and feeling very happy that they've seen. So nirvana is like that, and the 6th century BC, it's still the same. People are looking, but there's a journey. All of us are potential Buddhas, but the thing is, the middle path provides us for that journey. So there are a large number of people, are middle class. They're, very much the kind of spirituality that they look for is very opportunistic, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's people have a choice in their lives and what they do. Then there are those people, who go into in-depth study, whether it's the theras, whether it's the professors that you heard speak, or a colleague of mine, a friend of mine from the old days. His office was between that, mine and Professor A.L. Basham's office, Professor Bas Terweel, who came to Thailand, joined a monastery for 3 years, became a Buddhist monk because he wanted to learn about Thai Buddhism. He was interested in the scholarship. But the fact that he could do that shows how enlightened Buddhism is, that somebody could become a Buddhist monk for 3 years, learn, and then move back into academy. So there are people who are interested in in-depth study. And then the third one is, which is one of the most popular in India, is the tourism. People are coming, tourism and leisure spectrum, to see, what is called Buddhist tourism. And it's very well resourced by the Indian government, but also internationally it's very popular in Southeast Asia, other parts of South Asia. But the challenge here is what the chief abbot of Sarnath, when he came to Mangalagiri, which is silk sari famous place, to address the local Mahabodhi Society people in Mangalagiri, he said to everybody, look, I don't understand what is this, you're all after Buddhist tourism, and but if you understand Buddhism, then your material pursuit is not in sync with what Buddhism is all about. And yet, sort of in Amaravati, where in 2006, His Holiness conducted the Kalachakra ceremony, the Andhra Pradesh Tourism Department tried desperately for another Kalachakra ceremony because it's good for tourism. They were very quite upfront about it. So there are people who coming, for different reasons. Then there is the diaspora, Buddhist, whether they're Buddhist, whether they're Indian, Sri Lankan. Some of the biggest supporters and believers in Buddhism in Australia are the Sri Lankan diaspora. Or the Thai diaspora. A lot of the temples, Buddhist temples, are run by Thai diaspora. So there's a diaspora. So we got to think of a different kind of learners among the diaspora. So you have diasporic studies. Then the most important people we need to target in a country like India or even Sri Lanka, Thailand, or the people who are training to be architects and designers. So when you take a place, I'll give you an example why this is important. Most Buddhist sites are conserved by conservation scientists with site-centeredness, which is very much a colonial paradigm. You go to a place like Sanchi, everybody comes, they look at the stupa, they take pictures, they hear the guides, whatever they tell, and they leave. But when I take my Anant National Fellows to Bhopal, I tell them, okay, have a look around, and they read beforehand, they experience the place. Then I make them sit down and say, what do you see? Turn away and look at the landscape. You see amazing cultural landscapes. So once upon a time, the Buddhist monks were sitting there, and in fact, there is Mahabodhi Sri Lankan monastery over there, and the monks say the same thing. You sit there and you look at this incredible landscape where the sky and earth never meet, which is what life is, what the search for nirvana is all about. And you meditate on it. And yet, the way we promote Buddhist tourism is very site-centered, object-centered, rather than thinking about through the first voice, through the eyes of Buddhist monks and Buddhist practitioners of the day as well as now. So you get these conservation scientists, architectural conservation people who actually need to do some intense study in what Buddhism is all about. And so all I'm saying is that we need to be more learner-centered, as what the previous speaker has eloquently explained, and learner-centered. But who are the learners? You remember, when Gautam Buddha was asked, Bho Gautama, where do these people in the Sangha, where do they come from? What does he say? He says, like the drops of water that come together to form streams, and the streams that form tributaries, the tributaries that form rivers, and the rivers that flow into the great ocean. People come from everywhere into the great Sangha. So our learners come from many different backgrounds, and we need to understand who are our learners, and that's very critical. And so it is this kind of thinking, with this kind of thinking, that informs the way we are working on how we could all connect. For example, how can we work with Professor Mishra, the Vice Chancellor, and her great university that's organizing this very important webinar. How can we all work together? How can we respect the kind of discourse that was there in Nagarjunakonda? If you look at the archaeological remains and study Nagarjunakonda, I was fortunate to be with Professor R. Subramaniam, the late R. Subramaniam, who was the main person to excavate before the dam was built, Nagarjuna Sagar Dam. You get different sizes of monasteries, some very small, some big. Why is that? Because of the of the instruction that if 4 or more monks want to form a discussion group, they could form a separate discussion group. It's a very intellectually driven belief system. And I think that that's where there's a common ground with universities, which are meant to be sites for intellectual engagement. And I think if you take this into consideration, I think this is where, as the UNESCO chair, that I can facilitate partnerships, diverse partnerships, not only in India, but responsibility being for Asia Pacific, how we could work together to develop within the national education policy of India, because we already adopted a university-based framework to do this, one of the first to do so in India. So it got to be interdisciplinary. It can't be just archaeological, anthropological, historical, textual. It got to be all of these things into an interdisciplinary paradigm. And the second thing is, it can't be in silos, not only interdisciplinary, but working from disciplines, within themselves, with the evolution of curricular planning and appropriate pedagogy. We heard quite a bit about the contextual learning, from the previous eminent speakers. So the pedagogy is quite critical. What kind of pedagogy are we going to foster? And the national education policy talks about Indic studies. So what is Indic studies? When you think of the great Emperor Ashoka, whose Kharoshti inscriptions are found in Armenia, and whose own family members went to Sri Lanka. So where is Indic? What does Indic mean? It's a very broad brush concept. So how can we bring everybody together to learn, so as to promote harmony and peace in the world that's so much needed? And one of the beautiful things working in the Bamiyan Valley, because we have a lot of stereotypes about Afghanistan, was that when I ran workshops for several villages, people sitting together talking about, how do we rebuild the Bamiyan Buddhas? How do we go about it? And so much so that then mayor of Bamiyan, who is no more, he went and got DNA test done, because the DNA test revealed that he is a direct descendant of the people from the time of Kanishka, when those Bamiyan Buddhas were built. So so Sufism was very popular, but within Sufism, there is that accommodation of Buddhism and all other faiths. So how do we have intercultural dialogue? That's something UNESCO fosters and promotes quite a bit. So how do we do this? How do we work together? So it needs all of us to come together with the national education policy to think of appropriate curriculum planning. And that I think we can do, because what you heard today is amazing, amazing discourses by very eminent people. And I'm proud to be associated with all of you. Thank you so much, Professor Mishra, for kindly giving me an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to extend the vote of thanks to all our learned participants. In fact, this international webinar we have organized under 1 year webinar series combining National Education Policy 2020 and the role of teacher under the patronage of Her Excellency, the Governor of Madhya Pradesh, Srimati Anandiben Patel, and being chaired by Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University of Social Sciences. We are thankful to both of them for giving us this opportunity. We are indeed very thankful to our Honorable Director General ICCR, New Delhi, and Honorable Ambassador Shri Dinesh Patnaik ji for giving us this opportunity and gracing this platform as its chief guest. We are thankful to Professor Amreshwar Galla, UNESCO Chair Professor on Inclusive Museum and Sustainable Heritage Development, Anant National University, for chairing this international webinar. We are thankful to Most Venerable Dr. Maitipe Vimalasara Mathera for delivering the keynote address in this international seminar. And also we are thankful to our eminent guest of honor, eminent guests, Professor Upal Ranjit, Dr. Parma Sambon Udikaro, Dr. Sombat Mangmi Siri for delivering their speeches in this international webinar. This international webinar is in fact coordinated by Professor Niru Mishra. We are very thankful to Madam for providing us this opportunity and coordinating with the learned speakers and eminent guests. This international webinar is organized under joint collaboration of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University of Social Sciences, Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal, and Heritage Society, Patna. We are thankful to Shri Madan Khatri ji, Akhil Bharatiya Prakalp Pramukh and Palak Adhikari Madhya Kshetra, and Dr. Anand Ashutosh Dwivedi, Director General of Heritage Society, for coordinating this event. We are also thankful to our administrative coordinator, Shri Ajay Vermaji, Registrar, and the program coordinator, Dr. Bharat Bhati, and Advocate Naresh Mishra from the Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal. And we are also thankful to our technical coordinators, Dr. Bindya Tate, Mr. Pankaj Soni, Mr. Wilson, and Dr. Rajiv Ranjan Dwivedi ji. In fact, in this international webinar, we have the participation from various international universities, including Buddhist School Parivena Sri Lanka, MCU Thailand, Department of Indian Studies, University of Kalnia Sri Lanka, and Sanskrit Study Center, Silpakorn University, Thailand, from where we were having the representation of our eminent guests and speakers. We are also thankful to the media for giving wide coverage of this event, and also to all our eminent participant guests who joined with us in this international webinar. Since we have exceeded the time limit, I'm just without naming all other eminent guests and participants who joined this international webinar. I thank them one and all. And now for the Kalyan Mantra, may I invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Asha Shukla ji, for Kalyan Mantra.
Kalyan Mantra is for global peace and harmony. In every program of Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal, we all, the followers of and the participants of Kalyan Mantra, baby, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashe Dukh Bhag Bhave, Ma Kashe Dukh Bhag Bhave.
Thank you very much, Madam. And now, with the permission of the chairperson of this 1 year international series, national series on new education policy, may I request for closing the deliberation and event of international webinar today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thanks a lot.
Namaste.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Namaste.
Thank you.